Hello, this is John at Southern Exposure Technical Services in association with Barudan America, and I'd like to welcome you to today's video tutorial. It's more of a discussion, though, than an actual video tutorial on how to do anything with a machine. But today we're going to be talking about which spare parts you should have on hand, not only for yourself, for repairs when you actually need to do it, or more importantly, for your technician that comes in to do the repairs for you. Now, quick little bit of information on this is some technicians don't carry spare parts. So when they come out to your location, for whatever reason, they're going to sit there and they're going to say, oh, you need this, let's order it, get it overnighted, and then they'll come back whenever you get the part, or they'll go grab a hotel room and then come back the next day. And so the importance of actually having the spare parts is the limiting of your down production time. So with that also being eliminated, because you'll have that part on hand for like a rotary hook, a needle bar driver, trimmers, things like that, you having them on hand guarantees that the tech, while there, will be able to actually repair the machine. That unless there's something more drastic, like a K4 cam needs to be replaced or something of that nature, or actual more bevel gears or something like that gets really knocked out. But those are very far and few between cases where those actually happen. So today we're going to be discussing what are the most common spare parts that I've seen, that my boss man Scott Marshall has seen, that my other two techs have seen, me talking with the other representatives and other technicians out there like Dylan Bernhagen and James Bernhagen, or Tim Moss and Jimmy Britt and all them, Bill Garvin, that we've all discussed, okay, what should us as techs carry? We don't want to overload ourselves with a bunch of parts that we'll rarely ever use. So we carry the very basics of stuff. But again, not all technicians actually go out and will have a small stock of parts. And at the same time, we'll be out traveling as technicians, and we'll get to one location to the next location to the next location to the next location. And by the time we get to yours, we may have already used the parts that we need, and we're going, Ugh. So it's always good to have these on hand. Now, I want to go ahead and definitely state right up front, worn or used parts will not be put on a machine by a technician. You can put them on yourself. I professionally will not do it. None of my techs will do it, and I know the quality of the others that I mentioned with Bill and Tim and Jimmy and James and Dylan. They won't put used parts back onto a machine. They're used parts for a reason. It's like putting a set of worn out tires onto a car because your other tires broke, busted, blew out. It's just, no, we're not going to do that, because that's just putting a wet Band-Aid on top of an open wound. And here we're going to actually repair the darn thing. So, yeah, this is the first time I'm doing this type of discussion video, so bear with me as I go through it. I don't ramble like some people we know that do videos, but we're going to get through this together. And yeah, I hope you find it informative, and do go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm doing more videos like this throughout 2025. Business is great for the embroidery community already. At the end of 2024, stepping into 2025, it's really stepped up, and so I'm looking forward to 2025, as well as forward to making more videos on how to keep you up and running instead of having to wait 3-4 weeks for a technician. So, but the other thing is, with all video tutorials, there is that risk that if you try to repair something yourself, and again, I'll just hit this real quick and then we'll get right to it. If you try to repair it yourself, you run the risk of damaging machine worse or yourself, because bottom line, you're not certified technicians. I'm not saying you can't do it. If you have mechanical ability, go for it. If you can follow a step-by-step guide, go for it. But people that work on their own cars sometimes YouTube how to do this on a car, and the video will show exactly how it's done, things of that nature. And you can go through and you can take care of it. So if you're able to do that, feel free to. If you're not comfortable, you know what? Give Barudan America a call. Call Miss Amy up there at customer service to get a tech on the phone for you. Call tech support, where Tracy and David are there to get you on the phone with Troy or other individuals who are on phone support that day, or call your local technician. He or she may be able to walk you through it. because we do like to be able to do that, because I'm not going to come out. I'm not going to send me or my techs 3 hours, one direction type deal to go replace one rotary hook on a 6-head. Now, that's your only machine is your single head, and it's got the bad rotary hook. Yeah, of course, that's going to be a very big priority. And that's where a lot of us technicians, we prioritize our service work like that, of who is hurting the worst. So if you have a 6-head and a single head and you're down one head, but then this person over to the left or right of you has 2 single heads and they're down one of their single heads, yeah, that person has priority. Granted, yes, they're more likely not doing the volume you are, obviously, but that's 50% of their production they can't make. You're just down, out of 7 heads, you're down 1 head. So you do the math on that. What is that? 13% of production that you've lost. So it's still just as important to us, but we do have to prioritize it in that fashion. And again, there we go. Off rant. Okay. So we're already 6 minutes into it. So let's go ahead and get into this. What parts should you keep on hand? I've got a notepad that I've written down here so I can make sure I get through this correctly. One day I'll have a teleprompter up there. It'll be like, blah, teleprompter. Yeah. All professional. So, but no, so if you see me looking down, I'm looking at this, and as well as some other notes I've written down so I don't skip any information that is vital. So what part should you keep on hand? Well, I've got a document I'm going to show you. I'm going to share my screen with you, and you're going to see what the part is, what the part number is, and where you can actually purchase the part, which everything is going to be at shopbarudan.com. If you have other sources, that's up to you to use the other sources if you know any place else that has it. Because sometimes, again, if Barudan says, oh, we don't have that in stock, you might be able to find it somewhere else. I don't always recommend that because, parts, warranty, and things like that. I don't know how other companies would run with that, but to each their own. So what parts should you keep on hand? I'm going to go over what that part actually is, where it's located, what or how it works, and the reasons to replace it, and then how many you should have on hand. Now, the general rule of thumb is if you have a 6-head machine, you'll want 6 rotary hooks. I'll cover that right away. Or if you have a 6-head machine, you'll want at least 6 sets of replaceable trimmers. Now, those are expensive, so you're not exactly going to need all of it, to have on hand. But if you want to go ahead and put that in your toolbox for your technician to come out, sure. Even on yearly services, things like that. So, all right, let's go ahead and transition over this to my little walkthrough guide here. Oh, look at that. It's so pretty. Oh, look at that. And I'm going to be able to scroll, and you're going to see how it works. So, here we are at the very top. You have shopbarudan.com. That is where you're going to go to purchase all of the main parts that are on this list. Again, parts department at barudan.com is the email address you can email to get them to put, place the order for you and things like that. If you've not ordered parts through Barudan before, I do believe there is like a $150 minimum that you have to order for the first time to become a customer of theirs. But that's if you've never either ordered a machine through Barudan or, as in you bought it secondhand, a used machine. So either buying the machine through Barudan or just the initial purchase of parts, of which $150, embroidery is expensive, y'all. These machines are expensive to maintain and keep going. So you'll go through $150 real quick on the majority of these. So as you will notice, I don't have prices written down. And the reason I'm not writing prices down is because those change with whatever, the supply and demand. So, rotary hooks may be $54 or something like that. And then 6 months from now, whenever you're watching this video for the first time and you go to look at it, it's not 54, it's 72. What in the world? I don't want the people to be yelling at me for that. Oh, you're not telling the right prices. So the information I'm providing is it is as current as possible. The other side of it is these part numbers over here. These part numbers are subject to change, such as the needle bar for the S head. It has changed, or it is in process of changing to a more up-to-date, beefier version of it. So, with that being said, that QK230451 part number, while still good for what you're using today on your X series and your K series machines, they will change over time as Barudan continues to improve the quality and stability of the machine. So, Just because that says what the part number is in the book, you may get a different part number, or whenever you go and search it up, it may come out saying part number not found. And if that's the case, right here, folks, is where you need to go. You need to give Barudan a call. That is their tech support line, and that's their email as well. Make sure you include the machine model number, as in a BEV or a BEX, BEK series machine. You know, it'll be on the right side of the machine, up right next to the control panel, the automat on a chrome bracket, or on your single heads. It's going to be either in the bottom front underneath the sewing arm, or it'll be on the side of the machine where the fan is, or on the back side of the machine on the single head. So those do change up from time to time. All right. So you're going to hear some of my Southern come out as I get through this. And don't worry, I got a bottle of water, and so I'll be sipping on that as we go. Good stuff. So, alrighty. So we covered all that. ShopBarudan.com. Email for is partsdepartment@barudan.com. Tech support. If you need to find a part number before you call the parts department to give them a part number, you need to have one. So you have to call Barudan's tech support line or their email and say, hey, I need a part number for blah. So like on here, one of the other ones is a potentiometer. That has been a hot one here this past December. Potentiometers needing to be replaced. And, you know, I didn't add it to this list because, again, this list is just specifically designed for what you should have on hand. Okay, and everything you see right on the screen right now, that's it. I know Bob and Brandon Stone did a wonderful video, mid last year, something like that, on stitch files. You know, go check out that video. They go into much more depth of much more parts than what I'm going through, because this is just the basics of what I've seen, and as well as what me and my techs carry on every trip we go out to, because we just don't know what we're always going to walk into. So. Yeah, let's keep on rolling here. So I'm going to scroll down here, and we're going to get to the very first one, which is the Rotary Hook. All right, so what is the Rotary Hook? The Rotary Hook is the center point of all your stitch. It is what makes the stitch into your garment. It is located at the front of the sewing arm, and it spins really, 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 really fast, so don't touch it. That's a big one. Do not touch it. If you have to replace a bobbin or something, then make sure the machine comes to a complete stop before trying to insert fingers into there. It will bite you bad. Ask a person. I'm sure they know. So, but the rotary hook itself, these are Teflon coated. There are several types of rotary hooks, and there are different manufacturers like SWF and Tajima's and stuff. They use a similar type of rotary hook like Brother, but it's not the same as what I'm showing you here. Okay, so the rotary hook, which is part number KF220711, or the manufacturer part number KHS12 RYPBNW. These are Coban rotary hooks. That is what Barudan recommends to be putting into the machines. You know, these are made in Japan, and they are extremely high quality rotary hooks, unlike what you might get from China. We want to not buy things from China as best as possible. I have gone out where a customer says, yeah, I replaced the rotary hook, and it still runs like crap. And I get out there, or an off-handed technician has done it, who is not a certified Barudan tech. And I get out there, and it is a Chinese-made rotary hook, and oh my goodness, these things are garbage. So please, I caution you whenever you use anything that has come from China, and in the name of, you know, it just costs less to have. Okay, well, you pay for what you get is what I tell everybody. All right, so now, what it is, again, it's what makes your stitch. Your bobbin case gets put into it, and that's where all the magic happens, so you can come out with beautiful embroidery. And again, it is located at the front of the sewing arm. Okay, so you got to cover that you have to pop open the door. On your older models, the door will pop and stay open. On the new K-Series touchscreens, the doors spring back automatically. Thank you, OSHA. And the reason that you got to replace this is if you find that you've running the machine and you keep getting thread frays or thread breaks, or it's not picking up the bobbin after trims and stuff, you'll want to check to make sure that there are any burrs on it, okay? And where you'll be checking for burrs is going to be on this little point right here, this little lip as it runs around. I know I got my little crosshairs here. I wish that wasn't there, but but that's okay. But it's that point right here, and you can rotate the machine to do so. So again, there's 2 points. There's a front point and a back point. This front point I'm on right now is your hook timing point, and this chrome surface on the outside, it can get nicks and burrs, especially in this section over here where it widens out to help tighten up the thread as it's being stitched in connection with the bobbin. Okay, so you could take a fingernail file, some light sandpaper, or a file itself. I use a light grain file, and you can smooth out those burrs, and it could still keep going for you, which the majority of the time, as long as it's not deep gashes inside the metal, then we're ready to rock and roll. Okay, and you just put it back in, set your hook timing and at 25 degrees, and keep on busting out some production, making that money. Okay, so thread fraying and breaking, that is one of the reasons right there. Service life of these is 3 to 5 years. Now that's give or take the use of the machine. You gotta, how do I best say this? If you don't oil the machine, then it's going to wear out even faster. If you run the darn sucker at 1,200 RPMs every day, all day, it's going to wear out faster. So you want to make sure that you're oiling them every 4 to 6 hours of operation. I cannot stress that enough. Every 4 to 6 hours of operation, you have to oil this. And you can use that spray stuff. I don't care for it. It's a light misting stuff. I don't use it. But again, I'm not an operator. I'm a technician who knows how to operate. Just, I come from a different perspective on it. I like using the Zoom spout. It's got the clear oil, or Barudan has it in their toolbox, a clear oiler as well. And that sucker works really good. They do have a different tip on it with the newer model machines that allows it to not come out like a super soaker, like the original ones did with had the chrome tip on the oiler. That sucker, whoo, well, you can hit someone 6 feet away with that. But they did switch it up and add in a new spout that you can attach onto the oiler that's inside of there with the big old can of Barudan lubrication that comes with it, so you can keep your machine fresh and oiled and running like a new one. Okay, so but yep, thread breaking, damage to bird surface area, and oil it. 46 hours of operation. So the other side of it again is 3 to 5 years of service life. That's when you want to start thinking about replacing it. So definitely look at that after you've had the machine for 3 to 5 years. When your service comes around, if you have them for your technician, rock and roll, slap them in. Again, you're going to be looking at parts added to your thing to your invoice if you don't have them. Oh, I kind of went loud there. Sorry about that. If you don't have them. But in this case here, that's okay, because you'll have some on hand to be able to replace, especially for your troublesome heads. And don't worry if you only have a 6-head machine and you've only had 3 of them replaced due to damage or whatever. It's okay. We're not keeping track of what head has what, but when we as technicians look at it, we can see pretty much what we're looking for regarding how the condition is of that. So, any questions? None? Out, flipping, standing. Okay. So next we're going to be looking at is the bobbin case. Okay. So the bobbin case here, it is part number KF221020. Now, this is a Coban bobbin case as well. Okay, that's what the KK stands for, right there for Coban. And they range anywhere between $8 to $12, I believe. So, but they last forever. These things, like a rotary hook, should last 3 to 5 years, as long as you keep them clean, keep them maintained as far as their tension and not damaged. But there's no oiling of it. Do not oil your bobbin case, please. And when you go to oil your rotary hook, take out your bobbin case, please. Definitely take out the bobbin case, because if not, you're now you're just oiling your bobbin, and that's just going to get into your garment, and that's going to tick you off. And now you got to use a baby powder, baking soda, whatever compound y'all use to get all the oils and stuff out of it, acetone, stuff like that. So key important thing regarding the bobbin case, this backlash that is inside here, you can buy the bobbin case without it. It saves you like 8 cents per bobbin case, something like that, 8 to 10 cents. But when you're buying a bobbin cases for 20 sewing heads, that actually can add up nicely. The thing about this backlash is that it is specifically used for 2 types of bobbins. Your self-winding bobbins that you do yourself that are metal bobbins, or I found that they work really well with the plastic-sided bobbins that you can buy pre-wound, or get those self-winding as well. Any paper-sided bobbins that you use, you should not have that backlash in there. Any magnetic bobbins that you use, you should not have that backlash in there. All that is now doing is rubbing against the surface of the paper or on the actual bobbin thread itself, and that's going to cause a whole bunch of lint buildup, as well as possible issues with your bobbin tension, as the bobbin's not going to be able to be allowed to rotate smoothly through the bobbin case tension disc. Yep, which that bad boy is over here on this side. So if you ever need to adjust your bobbin tension, it's that little screw here, not this one, not that, but this one. And there are videos on how to do that as well. I recommend using a TOWA, T-O-W-A tension gauge to do all that. But again, I digress, or else we're going to be here forever. Okay, so next we have trimmer blades. These come in several different versions. Okay. Reasons you're going to replace them is if they break, because it does happen when you could get a good bird's nest, and a movable knife, this bad boy right here, won't close all the way, and so this portion here is still sitting right underneath the sewing hole, and the needle's going to come down and smack it, and then that is going to cause issues in itself. But yeah, that's one reason if it's not trimming, or if it just absolutely breaks. Of course, then also service life. Now, I can't, let's go into and talk about that one, the service life of a trimmer. I can't state whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. It depends upon how much you use your machine. And it's not a matter of runtime on a machine. It's how many times it stops and trims. That's it. There's nothing else to it except how many times are you stopping and trimming. So the blades you're looking at right now, these go on your BED, BEV, and your BEX and BEK machines. It goes over all of them. So D's, V's, and X series, and some K series. I didn't add the case in there because we also transitioned over to Mark 8s, which is a different set. These are Mark 5s. Okay, so you got your Mark 5 fixed blade, Mark 5 movable knife. Okay. These, as you see, the part numbers right there. Again, for your D series, V series, X series, and K series. There was a portion of time where the V series and the X series had what we call Mark 7s. Okay. Those were used for a small number of years, and they weren't discontinued, but they just went back to the Mark 5 version just because they just were having issues or there were difficulties with this, that, and everything else. All right. So the Mark 5s, you'll want to order the set together. Don't just replace the fixed blade. Don't just replace the movable knife. You'll want to order the set together. It's kind of like a pair of scissors. When you can't cut something with your scissors, well, you don't just replace one side of the scissors. You go and get a whole new pair of scissors. And that's all these are. We call them trimmers, but they're scissors. The cut points on them are right here, very small little tip here, and right here. The purpose of this angle portion right here is it helps pull the bobbin nice and tight, and the top thread nice and tight for the trim. So it's a dual movement system. It'll come forward a little bit, the needle will go down one more time and make the trim, and then the blade will keep moving forward as the needle rises back up out of the hole. The blade will move forward and complete the cut. The other thing is, do not think that you're going to be able to sharpen these. I know you can sharpen scissors, you can sharpen knives in your kitchen and stuff like that. The angle of this is so small, so fine that no, just go ahead and get you a new set. That's all you got to go ahead and get you a new set. Mark 7s. Okay, so these, get out of there. I just want a little bit of it. Don't need all of it. No, we're not talking about Mark 8s yet. Mark 7s. Fine, it can sit there. Stop moving. Oh my goodness, this thing. All right, so get out of there. Okay, there we go. Now John's happy. Okay, so the Mark 7s, these are going to be found again on your late model V series and your early model X series machines, both single head and multi-heads. Just like the Mark 5s, there is a fixed blade and then there is a movable blade. Okay, the differences are these come forward and make the cut just like the Mark 5s, but they're not on the right side of the sewing arm, they're on the left side. So there's a little bit of differences there. And there is a set screw that adjusts the pitch of your fixed blade so that you can make your trims a little more tighter, a little more cleaner as time goes on and you're using the blades. Okay. So again, always replace them as a set. Never, I don't know why I have BED on here. It's not a D. Ignore that. I'm going to edit this and block that one out. So yeah, but yeah, your V series and X series is where you saw your Mark 7s. You know, actually, I'm going to do it right here. You know what? No. Oh, let's not. Okay, I'm going to stop messing around here. Okay. We'll keep it at that. Y'all know how it is. Sometimes you just miss little things here or there. But hey, that's just entertainment value. All right. So again, replace them both as a set. Here are your part numbers. You know, and again, same as the Mark 5s, the reason you replace it is if it stops trimming the top or bottom thread or if it gets broken. Mark 8s. These bad boys are absolutely fabulous. They've made some upgrades to them to make them even better. The movable knife's now a little beefier, and actually it looks wicked, absolutely wicked. And these, again, should be replaced as a set. There is no adjustment for it, except for if you knock it out of its resting position, you know, its starting position, then there's adjustment for that. But the same again with the Mark 5s and Mark 7s, but that's a different video. Yeah, the Mark 8s, just go ahead and have a couple of these on hand as well. You know, with them being the newest here, the only reasons I've actually had to replace them is damage to the blades itself. So, like, if you get a bird's nest, a really good one, and the blade comes out and it didn't retract back in all the way, got caught up by all that thread, you're going to find this piece broke off right here. Just a little nub right there, that little nubby. Yep, just a tip. So you'll have to replace those, and then it's a simple one screw, and then if you're going to do that, replace that, that's 2 more screws right here. So just remember that this screw here is a different length than this screw here. So when you do take them off, remember where each screw goes, because there are 2 different types of screws to go here. But there are your part numbers for that, so feel free to grab a hold of that and order that as well. All right, moving on. Your needle plate screws. Okay, there are 2 types, and it's based off of what trimmers you have. I cannot stress this enough. There are 2 types of screws now. You have the top one up here, needle plate screws for your Mark 5 and Mark 7 trimmer plates. Okay, so your needle plate, your throat plate, whatever you want to call it, where the trimmers are actually attached to the plate itself. These are the screws you want to use. So KX250081 is what you can go and order. This one, I'm going to just throw it out there. You always have at least, 10 to 15 on hand. I mean, they're not expensive to have, and you can keep them in a little baggie inside your toolbox. 10 to 15. You know, and that's the same with the Mark 8s. Because if you're in there and you have to clean out a bird's nest, or operator cleans out a bird's nest, and you have to remove the needle plate to do so, instead of getting in there with the hook and stuff that you can buy from Good and Old and things of that nature, you know, then you're going to possibly tear other things up besides that thread out of there. You drop it on a floor, and there are floors out there that they are the abyss for screws. They get on the floor and they're gone. Then you will spend more time than what's necessary to just go to the toolbox, grab a new one, slap it in. Of course, just make sure it did drop in the floor area and not like into the rotary hook area, things of that nature, or else you'll really find out where it's actually located when you press start. We don't want to do that. No. So always be, diligent in looking for a screw that you've dropped, but when push comes to shove, majority of the time it's dropped on the floor and it's gone into the ether. It's gone. Gone, baby, gone. All right. So, and again, Mark 8s, that is the newest trimming style. So I'll bring that up again real quick. So this is the Mark 8s here. That is where these screws come into play. Now, there is no picture available, but they look exactly just like this. So they look the same as the Mark 5s. But if you try to put a Mark 8 screw into a Mark 5 needle plate, it's not going to work. The pitch is different on the threads. Okay, it's the same size Allen key, the 2.5 millimeter Allen key, but the pitch is different. So I must stress on that if you have the Mark 8 machine, which again, these are Mark 8s right here. If you have that, and it's going to be on a K series, but some K series have Mark 5s as well, you'll want to order the NF 210110 part number. So, very important note with this. I do have a video on how to remove a stripped out screw. There are several ways people can do it as well. I use a star bit and I clamp it down onto it pretty darn tight and it fits right in there, a 1.0 star bit. These are aluminum screws, ladies and gentlemen. They are aluminum screws that you're tightening into a steel hole. You do not have to torque these things. You just want to get it just slightly tightened and then, make the sound effect. Just go, keep tight. Okay, now it stopped, and then just go just a little smidge further. Just that's it. That's all you need. No more. None. Stop. You ain't got to torque these suckers down. It's not a daggone jet airplane that you got to have everything torqued down to 250 foot-pounds. No. Aluminum screw going into a steel hole. You torque it down, it's going to lock itself in there pretty darn good, and so that when you go to loosen it, you will strip out the head of the screw. So please no. Just take it easy, snug it down, and then just a little bit. That's all you need. Just a little bit. Okay. All right, moving on. The cloth hold support, or as more commonly known as the pressure foot. Pressure, however, tomato. This has two different models as well. And there's a couple other ones for single heads that, but again, these models are more outdated. And, whenever you go to order your parts from Barudan, you're always going to want to add in your model and serial number. That way, when you order the part, if it's changed or if you may have the wrong part number for what you're trying to order, they'll say, oh, sorry, that part is not compatible with your machine, but we have this part. And then you just switch it up and keep rocking and rolling from there. So your cloth hold support is bent, or you were doing a trace and it did not, bent the crap out of the presser foot, and you cannot take a pair of needle nose pliers and bend it back to where it's nice and straight again. I mean, it doesn't have to be accurately 100% straight, but you can bend it back with a pair of needle nose pliers. You just got to apply a little muscle to it and you'll be able to rock and roll with that. So the excuse me, the presser foot itself is easily replaced by a set of screws that are on the inside front cover underneath the plastic front cover of the machine where it says Barudan. You'd have to remove that to replace it. But besides that, that's the only reasons why you'd ever replace it. Anything that's 2010 and older, it's going to be using these ones with a big silver shaft up the top. Then you have the newer ones that have a more flat shaft at the top, and those are going to be held in by a Phillips head screws. These are going to be sliding up through the springs and such that you have to be very careful when you do replace it, or else they'll go boing. And when they go boing, they'll find the abyss, and Now you got to find a new spring, and that's a different part number. So, yep. So that's really the only reason you'll ever replace them is they become bent beyond straightening out. So grab your needle nose and get in there and get her done if you can. If not, well, let's just make sure you have some on hand. So, all right, moving on. The cloth hold support rubber. This little guy is an amazing game changer for the Barudan machine. It is a sound dampening cushion, so that when your cloth hold assembly moves up and down, which grabs a hold of your needle bar and brings it up and down with your needle bar driver, that is where it is coming down and making contact with the top surface of that. Without it, you'll hear just a loud banging of metal on metal, and that's no bueno. But these are, oh gosh, what's the word? They're uniform to everything on all the machines. They have not changed this design since the 1998 model machines, BENTs and BEM, all the BE series, the DEVs and Ds and all the XYs and O's and U's and stuff like that. They haven't changed it, so this is the same. To replace it, it is going to be 1 per sewing head. So you may have 15 needles, but you only have 1 cloth hold support rubber. That's it. So you're not going to need, the 15 of them per sewing head. And to change it, you'll have to remove some needle bars to get it out and put a new one in. Or there'll be a video on how to actually do that more easily with a pair of tweezers and just being able to get in there and pop it in after the old one's either been popped off and you start hearing the loud banging sounds, or it just gets worn out, which you'll definitely want to have some of these on hand, because this is one of the parts that I'm always replacing. Not every year, but if this nice clear looking, how it looks nice and clear, starts to turn very dark brown, that tells me that it's starting to get very worn out and I'm going to replace it. They're like $5 or whatever. That I do know. They haven't changed in many, many years because it's the standard part. So yeah, if you have a 6-head, yes, we're about to spend $30 on that, because that part right there will last basically 3-4 years. Is when I would be replacing it. Every 2 to 4 years, depending on how heavily you use the machine, as well as, again, lubrication. Keep it nice and lubricated, then you won't have to replace parts as often. So, but that's the cloth hold support rubber, or cushion, as some other people would call it as well. Whether it breaks, causing the sewing head to run a lot louder, or it just starting to get worn out, and you need to get those replaced. So, needle bars. Now, there are 2 types of needle bars. You have the new style, which is here, and this is going to be predominantly found on your X series and K series machines. And then you have the old style here. This is going to be found on your D series and your V series machines. So BED, BEV, and then up top here is the BEX and BEK series machines. Now, we'll go ahead and say that they have beefed this part up here. They've beefed it up more, and it's a brand new changer they've come out with. So I don't have the new part number for that, because I don't think Barudan has them fully in stock yet for purchase. But they are coming on all the new machines over the past 6 months, 7 months. Don't quote me on that, Earl. Don't quote me. But it is a relative new change where they took this and they kind of just merged them together to where this upper part is a very solid piece of metal now, instead of this hard plastic that you're seeing right there. Now it's molded plastic, so on the inside of it is metal, but it's just molded plastic on the outside. And they switched it back to this top portion right here where the whole darn sucker is metal. So I think that's going to be a great change, and I'm really enjoying how it looks on the inside of the machines too. Makes them look more, just badass. Yeah, that's just me. So, reason did you replace them? If you're running the machine and your needle bar seizes up, as in, holy crap, the whole machine stopped. More likely you've broken your needle bar driver as well. So that's a common issue people have with these, is if you don't oil your needle bars 1 to 2 times a month, Now, I know what the Barudan lubrication guy says, you know, once a week, you might start over oiling it, but especially on your D series, BED, and your V series, BEV, they should only be used with a Q-tip. Just get some clear oil, rub it on a Q-tip, then rub the backside of the needle bars. You do not want to apply oil directly onto those needle bars, and that would be these needle bars right here. The reason being is when they come down, then they're going to splatter oil everywhere. For the needle bars on the BEX and the BEK series machines, they have a nice little felt pad that's down there. You can apply a small drop of oil, 1 drop every few needle bars, and the oil will absorb into the felt pad, and that will allow it to run much smoother. And you would do that, 1 to 2 times a month is my recommendation. But yeah, you can still use the Q-tip, get that saturated with oil, and rub the backside of the needle bars, and it'll do just the same. So whatever works best for you. So trial and error. If you do it with the Zoom spouter, with the Barudan oiler that's inside the toolbox, and you notice that you're getting a lot of splatters on your garments, okay, over oiled it. That's unfortunate. So that's where you'll have to just go ahead and just back it off a little bit, and then run the machine on some backing, and you'll be able to get all that rest of the oil out. So, but yeah, so if it seizes up, that's because you did not oil it. It's not any matter of anything else. It's the piston of the car. So if you don't add oil to your pistons, then it's going to seize up as they get hotter, because it's a piece of metal that's being pushed up and down very rapidly through a metal hole. It needs lube, all of it. As just go ahead and understand. If you have a needle bar that's seized up, it is because it was not oiled. And I have to be harsh on that one, because I've gone out and someone says, well, I think it's a defect. And it's like, no. The likelihood of it being a defect, based off of the hundreds of machines that we put in that have now thousands of needle bars that we've put in that come from the manufacturer, it's just highly unlikely. So oiling is key. And if you can't tell, oiling with everything on this is key. Always make sure you're lubricating everything except for the bobbin case and the trimmers. I didn't say that about the trimmers. Do not lubricate the trimmers. Oh my gosh. Ran into that one. Like, why is it so sloppy wet in here? Oh, well, I lubricated it. See if it'd work. Nope. Don't do that. So replacing them, again, that's where you're going to have to take the front cover of the machine off, where it says Barudan, take that front plastic cover off, and then move the machine's sewing head to a different needle if you're able to, away from it, so you have space and you're not getting interference with getting the needle bar out from the sewing arm itself. So, but I'm going to have videos on how to do that stuff here later on. So, but yeah, so these are your 2 part numbers again. If it's damaged by being seized, or if it got damaged because it got stuck in the down position and something else happened, or if you hit a hoop, you can bend your needle bar if you hit a hoop. You can. Oh, cool. The other thing that does happen, I'm going to scroll up here to the presser feet, because the needle bar slides through this hole right here. Okay. Same thing here in this one. There's a hole that the needle bar slides through. If you if you're running the machine and you smack the hoop, or you nick the edge of the hoop, or if the presser foot gets bent in any way to where it causes this flat surface here, that flat surface there, to become a different angle, it can cause a notch to get put into the shaft of the needle bar. And that will also cause issues with your machine. So you could sit there and say you're running the machine, not a problem, for needles 1 through 15, except for needle number 2. That's the only one where I always have these issues. It either hesitates, doesn't go all the way down, and it's not jump timing or something like that, or I'm always, breaking something. So case in point, I had a customer I had to go out and see, where they couldn't figure out what was going on with this machine, because every needle worked except for number 7. What it came out to be was, okay, they replaced the needle bar drivers, started running the machine again. It ran great on all the needles, and then it got to 7, and it broke the needle bar drivers again. Because whenever that needle bar was trying to get pushed down by the driver, the notch that was created from the damage of where they impacted the needle bar onto the hoop created a nick, a notch, a burr into the needle bar. And so every time I was pushing down on that, it was having to put much more force onto it, and so gradually over quick times, it just snapped again. And that was the issue. You know, we were, you know, thinking it was some totally other stuff, but that's all it was there was a nick on the burr. A nick on the burr. Wow, that's good. This is what happens when you talk a lot. Whew, you start stumbling over yourself. But yeah, there was a nick on the needle bar. About said burr again. So there was a nick on the needle bar that was caused by the presser foot whenever it smacked a hoop, and that's when it kept breaking the driver, and that's all it needed replaced was both the driver and the needle bar. So always check to make sure that the needle bars move up and down nice and smooth. And again, you can move the machine to needle 1 and then pull down on needles like 4 through 15 and then release them, and they should pop right back up nice and smooth, and then move it again to needle 15, and you can do needles 1 through and 3, 1 through and 3. Yeah, you know, okay. So, any questions on that? Outstanding. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of information coming at me with questions on this. So feel free, you know, to shoot me messages and stuff, and we'll cover everything as best as possible. All right, got a little sip of water there. Needle bar drivers. We're almost done. We're almost done. These are the last two things we're going to be looking at is needle bar drivers and the needle bar stoppers. So, needle bar drivers, they are what makes the needle bar go up and down. Bottom line, that's what they are. There are two types. Okay, you have the ones for the X and the K. The X and the K series, which is your S sewing heads, and then you have the Z heads, which is your D and your V series and older. But if you get too older, like some of the BE N series machines, they'll have this similar style, but it'll be a little different when it comes to how it all mounts and stuff. So you have to be careful of which one it is. If it's a BEN series, these are not your needle bars. These are not the droids you're looking for. All right, so a little Star Wars there for you. Reasons why you replace them. You hit a hoop and they break. That's it. I mean, you could sit there and say, I was running the machine just fine, and all of a sudden, bang, it stopped working. Well, did you hit a hoop? No, I didn't hit a hoop. Okay. Well, the only other reason would be the tip is either now worn out, which I've seen a lot with these after, 8-9 years of use. This tip right here starts to wear out, or you had a needle bar seize up, or a needle bar hesitated because it has a burr on it. So there's always a underlying reason as to why a needle bar driver breaks. They just don't break on their own. Something has to create a type of impact for it to either snap off completely, which they break right here on this tip. And then from that tip, you'll find that laying inside the sewing head. So make sure you're always checking inside your sewing head to find all broken parts. And the same with this. This is the tip that would break off as well on your Z series, Z head machines, your BED series and BEV series, your Delta and Victor series. Your X-ray and your Kilo series, your X and Ks, are this model here. Alrighty. It's really self-explanatory. Those are the only reasons why you would ever replace them. They broke, or they're just worn out. That's it. So, moving down to the last thing. Needle bar stoppers, or the upper rollers. These little guys are another one of the ones I always replace when I do my yearly services. If they started looking to be more of a brown, dark brown tint to it, that tells me they're getting worn out. Again, they're like a $3 part, I believe these are. They're very inexpensive. So, with that being said, there's no real reason why one wouldn't replace it. What does this part do? Well, it sits on top of all your needle bars, and there's only one of them per sewing head. So if you have a 6 head, there's only 6 of them. Even though you have 15 needles per sewing head, it only has one upper roller. And again, the same thing with the needle bar drivers too, by the way. There's only one needle bar driver per sewing head. There's not 15 needle bar drivers. So if you smack the hoop on needle 7, oh, well, let's use needle number 8. It still ain't going to work. But anyway, so this needle bar stoppers, or upper rollers as some people call them, they set the jump timing of the machine. Another word for jump timing is needle bar height. With that not being set correctly, then the needle bar driver, when it is engaged with the machine to make the needle go up and down, will be out of time with the needle bar, the top of the needle bar itself. So that upper roller is adjustable whenever you're in the assembly that it sits in. You can adjust it to push down or to not push down on the needle bar itself. So whenever you go to change needles, like from 1 to 15, and if you watch the pressure foot, the cloth hold support, and you watch as he rotates from needle 1 to 2 to 3 and so on and so forth and sally forth, you'll notice that it's piano keying, that every time it comes over the center of the sewing hole, the presser foot goes down just a little bit. That is because the upper roller, or the needle bar stopper, is pushing down on that needle bar to bring it to the correct height so that a jump timing, which is done at 185 on your S head machines, your K series and your X series, or 189 on your D series and your V series, 189 degrees. That is the time when the needle bar driver is released and it slides into the top of the needle bar and pulls it down. That's all this thing does. It just holds the needle bar at the right height for the driver to slide into the top of the needle bar and pull it down. If it's off, then you're going to have hesitation, or it may not even grab it at all. And I have seen it to where these have broken in half throughout the years, because it does roll back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and they've broken off, and you'll find the little half moon circle laying at the bottom of your table or something like that. And you're like, what is this to? Well, that's what it is. Or you might find it sitting inside the sewing head. Okay, so they're all just a synthetic type of silicone rubber. So over time, they do deteriorate and they do need to be replaced. So yeah, one of the other things I recommend, and I didn't really go into too much detail, but go to your local hardware store and get, Barudan does supply a little green pouch in the toolbox when you buy a machine of Allen keys or Hex keys. I don't know who Allen is, but he makes a daggone good Hex key. Go to your local hardware store and get the Pittsburgh one or whatever model you want. They don't have to be the expensive, titanium plated, all that stuff. That just go get a good set of T-handle keys. Get another set of Hex keys that are longer than what is provided. That way, if you choose to try to attempt some of these repairs on your own or replacements of parts on your own, these are the two main things I always have out whenever I'm working on a machine, is my T-handles and my metric Allen keys or Hex keys. So everything's metric. Don't get standard, get metric. That's it. That's the list, y'all. I want to, let's see here. I want to cover a couple other small things real quick at the end of this. I know we're running up onto an hour, which, scroll, darn you. There we go. Okay, so the one things that I didn't really get into is how many do you actually want to get per sewing head? So your bobbin cases, you always want to have at least half of the sewing heads covered. So again, if you have a 6 head, have 3, because they do break. The pigtails on them break, things of that nature. Your cloth holders, those, again, half of what you have as far as sewing heads. So if you have a 1 head, just keep 1 or 2. If you have a 4 head or a 6 head or an 8 head, keep 3 to 6 of them. That's all you need to have on hand, because again, if you're bending more than that, oh my god, you got issues. Yes you do. So the cloth hold support rubber, that one, you have 1 per sewing head. They're inexpensive, might as well get them. Same with your upper roller, the needle bar stopper. Have 1 for each sewing head. They are inexpensive. They're not expensive to have, and they can sit in your box and sit there. They have a great shelf life, really good shelf life. So your Mark 5 trimmer blades, your Mark 7 trimmer blades, I would actually not keep as many Mark 7 trimmer blades as you do your Mark 5s, because the Mark 7s can be readjusted to fix the trimming issue if you're having one. So they can, in a sense, last longer when they're dialed in perfectly. They're a great trimmer. I absolutely love them when they're dialed in perfectly. And I'm gonna be doing videos on how to do all that too. But yeah, the Mark 5s, you want to keep again half of what you have for the machine. So again, a 6 head, keep 3 sets. But again, if you notice that you're having issues with trimming and you got a tech coming, well, then you can go ahead and order a couple more and have them on hand for whenever the tech gets there. Same with the Mark 7s and the Mark 8s. I carry 3 with me. That's if I go to multiple customers who have multiple machines of Mark 8s, I'm pretty darn confident right now I don't need to replace any. So yeah, with the Mark 8s, that's just keep half of what sewing head numbers you have. Needle bar drivers, I would keep 4 to 5 on hand. Actually, you know what? No. Worst case scenario, have one for every single sewing head. The reason you want to have one for every single sewing head is if you're running all 8 heads and your operator or yourself make that mistake and you slap the hoop on all 8 heads, yep, nothing's working. That machine is fully down. So make sure you have one for every single sewing head that you have. That I would definitely recommend. So those are the more on the expensive side to have, but again, that's why we trace. So the needle bar drivers definitely have one for every sewing head that you have. Needle bars, again, those are so random. I keep 4 to 6 on hand. That's about it. 4 to 6 of them on hand. And then the needle plate screws for the Mark 5s and Mark 7s, and then the needle plate screws for the Mark 8s. I would definitely use maybe about 10. Keep about 10 on hand. And rotary hooks, again, 4 to 5 on hand at the most, based off how many sewing heads you have. So that's what it comes down to it. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up that parts list again so you can see it here at the end of this and write down any part numbers and stuff. Make sure take screenshots of it too. You can take screenshots of that and you can go and take care of stuff from there. But yeah, that's what it comes down to. That is the end of this video. Oh, I made it. Woo! I was very nervous about making this one because this is the first time I'm actually not narrating a video I did to show you how to do something. I'm actually having a conversation with you. And so I have to give credit to where credit is due. That Bob and Brandon, they do a great job. I'm sure they get on their rants. Well, Bob gets on his rants. We all know that. But they're fun rants for me to watch and listen to. So it's pretty nice. But hopefully you've enjoyed this. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Yep. So other than that, feel free to give tech support a call at any point in time you need. Let me bring that up again for you. Tech support number is again right here as your tech support line. Give them a call, shoot them an email, and they'll be able to answer any questions you have. If you need to get a hold of me, you can give my office a call at 770-917-8825, or you can shoot me an email from my website, which is setsembrepair.com, which you can find me on Facebook and things like that. So again, thank you so much for sitting here and going through this with me and taking the time to listen, and hopefully you've learned, and I'm looking forward to any questions and feedback that you have. So it's going to be an exciting year, and I'm looking forward to everything. Again, I'm still working on things like what in the world is that? Nothing to see here. Just a wizard behind the curtain. Nothing to see there. See? Up there. Y'all have a good day. Thank you for joining me. And again, any questions you have, just give me a call. I'm going to have to find the button because I got all the screens up, so I can't see what's going on. So where's the button? Button. Ah, there's the button. Yeah. Take care.